Hello, my name is Ash, or Vasine, whichever you prefer to call me. Um, Before you judge me, I'd like you to know a few things about myself. I am an A student in school. I have no mental conditions to speak of. Um, I have a stable family. My parents are both married, and I have a sister and nephews and nieces. I have a very good life. Alright, well, I'd like to talk about a few things about vampires. I'm not an unstable teenager, obviously. I don't have an overactive imagination. I don't really roleplay. I used to when I was younger, but just for fun. Vampirism to me is a very serious matter. Um, how you can identify a fake vampire is if they claim to feed upon blood or energy or sex, and receive no physical drawbacks if they do not. I, however, am not this way. I have a diagnosed problem with my large intestine known as ulcerative colitis. If I don't feed, my intestines try to digest healthy tissue within my body, and I also have high liver enzymes, which means that it's under a lot of stress, so I have to keep feeding. I'm one of those vampires who must feed quite often, almost every day, really. Vampires are more nocturnal, seeming how our biological alarm clocks seem to be flipped upside down, and for years we were thought to be some sort of demonic force, and I assure you this is not so. As my religious beliefs are Christian, it's obvious that I do not worship Satan or Lucifer or anything of that nature. There are three types of vampires, and the third is less commonly known. The first is the psychic vampire, or psi-vampire, who feeds from metaphysical energy through drawing it in through the chakra extensions of oneself. These vampires feed also from auras or ambient energy. The next is sanguinarians. Sanguinarians are your classic vampire, which feed from blood, and these vampires have more roots in the ancient times, seeming how before all of these blood diseases were so abundant. Sanguinarians were priests in the Egyptian society. They were respected members of their community, although, some of us have a tendency to be arrogant because of our abilities. And the third type of vampire, it's arguable of whether this is actually just another form of psychic feeding, but it's called a tantric vampire. And a tantric vampire feeds off of sexual energy, or tantric energy, obviously. There's two different kinds. There's Eastern class, which can feed from romantic encounters, sexual emotions. Obviously, this is more of like if you were to go visit a stripper, it's a very mind-related issue. It provokes tantric energy through sexual thought. Western tantric can feed from semen or the actual act of sex. They have to be quite intimate with their partner and feel that if they go without this energy, that they will become sick. Unfortunately, this is a very iffy line between man-whore or tantric vampire, because I'm sure every guy out there who wants to have sex is going to claim that they're a vampire, which is completely ridiculous, obviously. I respect these vampires. They I happen to be all three. I have developed a way to feed from blood, energy, and sexual thought. And I have no respect for gothic kids who put on plastic fangs and claim to be something that's completely fantastical, completely Hollywood. I do happen to be gothic, but it has nothing to do with my vampirism. As you can see, I'm capable of wearing clothes with color. And I have been within a few different vampiric communities since my awakening about 3 years ago. The first one I was in was known as the Immortal Midnight Corps, and it was an online community that was more based off of an educational system for vampires, recently awakened ones. And soon after that, I joined a network of about 3 different covens: the NSOS, the WSSOS, and the SSOS, and I was the leader of the southern wing. Of course, then I discovered what hunters were. And the hunters are people who believe that we are evil, we are demonic, and they wish to kill us. They think that just because we happen to take more energy that we might be black holes in the ether, and they seek to cure us or cleanse us. And these people are completely ignorant. I mean, they're almost as ignorant as fake vampires are, but the only difference is that these people are actually aware of what we are. Obviously, I quit the SSOS because I did not want to be physically harmed. A few issues came into play there, and my parents discovered what I was, and obviously that's pretty hard because my family is Christian, and occult beliefs are not accepted amongst us. And I am by no means claiming to be a magical worker or a witch, or not that there's, anything wrong with those beliefs, because everybody has to find their own beliefs in this world, whether there be one truth or many. No one can say for sure. I personally believe that there's only one truth, but I had to explain this to my parents, and curiously, the same year I received my immune deficiency, my mother also received multiple sclerosis. And my parents do not believe in vampirism whatsoever. They think I'm entirely crazy, which they have the right to do. Vampirism is about the celebration of independence. It is showing that you are not entirely human. And by that I don't mean that we don't live, breathe, eat just like you do, and die. We have the appearance of being immortal because our memories reincarnate. Not necessarily our spirits, although that can be argued as well. Some people think that the consciousness is a spirit. I myself have lived in my mind for around 5,312 years, and I have memory of various things in history without ever having studied it. And I do really well in that class, obviously. I mean, that has nothing to do with vampirism, that just has to do with my particular skill set. But nonetheless, I have dreams every night of memories that I've had. They're very realistic experiences. I do astral project, and astral projecting is whenever your consciousness reaches out from your body, leaves your body, and you go to feed from people in dreams. Tantric vampires are notorious for this. I've had several people who I have visited in dreams to feed upon, and it was a very sexual experience for them. And then soon after, they met me in person, and they identified me as someone who had fed off of them, because I do it subconsciously sometimes. So this is pretty much my overview of vampirism. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm really quite an open person, and I, don't really want any arguments. If you disagree with me, that's perfectly fine, but this is what I believe, and this is what I know to be my truth, my reality, because it is something I have to live with every day.